Right. I was over there. I walked down here. I'm hiding behind this tree because there's I'm not going to say it because it's just my life. People follow me. So I'm hiding, sweetheart, behind the bushes. Go on, give us a kiss. Oh yeah, man. Don't forget me teddy bear hook. Come on now. Oh yeah, man. Oh look, see, it's turned colour. Oh, it's not ready. Sorry. But you see, look, further down there, I got these. Look, aren't they nice? Little cherries. You got yellow ones there, and red ones here. It's just the sun hasn't been at this side as much as the other side. Anyway, back to the story, sweetheart. So, the receptionist opens the door for me, and I go down. I know which bed she's in, straight in. Glass doors. I knock. I says, hello. She says, hello there. I says, now I gave a request the other day, didn't I? Do you know about that? In fact, I've given 3 times a request for information. Oh, she says, well, I can't deal with that. Okay. I says, well, get somebody who can right now. Now. I want someone right now. No. The funny thing was, when I was coming into the hospital, that doctor, which one? The first one. The one that was, well, she has got a nice heart. Icy heart, not nice, ice, cold as ice, heart. And there she goes, passing me like that. Her head was down, and I was looking up. Are you going to look at me? No. Hung her head in shame. Shame. So I goes into the hospital, and I gets to the door where my daughter's in. Opens the door, gets the nurse in. She couldn't do anything about it. So I said to her, has any of my family been? Has anybody been to see my daughter in the last 3 or 4 days? She said, oh, I can't tell you that. I said, what? She says, no, I can't tell you things like that. I said, what sort of people are you? What sort of rules is this? I says, all I'm asking for, has any of the members of my family been to see my daughter? And you can't give me an answer? No. I thought, you're fucking pathetic. Absolutely pathetic you are. With their fucking silly rules and regulations. Can't tell you if a member of your family's been in. I've got good hearing, and I'm just wondering whether there's somebody behind me. I think it's just the bird up the top. The birds listening in. Listening to the story. They do, you know. Uh-huh. So I said, right, okay. Bring me a doctor who's dealing with my daughter right now. She says, I will. So I was sitting with my daughter. She was out cold. I touched her and I'd spoke to her. And nothing at all. But she was moving. She was moving her legs and so forth. And I thought, is she under a sedative? I'm going to check all this. Yeah. So, 2 doctors come and say, hello there. It's a totally different attitude. I says, oh, hello. I says, who are you? She says, well, are you aware so and so and so? She says, yes, that's me. I says, so you're the doctor? Yeah. She says, yeah. So this is another doctor who's been sent in, right? Because the other two's disappeared. They've gone off the scene. They don't want to see me. So she starts talking to me. I says, I want information. I want all this information, what I've requested. She says, oh, you can't have it. I says, don't be so silly. She says, no, you can't have it. I says, look, I can have all the information I want. I guarantee you, I will get all that information. She says, oh, well, yes. There's a form to fill in and you have to go through this procedure. I says, all right then, all right. And then we went on to other things which, some things I can't really say because people will be listening to this. But I can tell you as much as I possibly can, Eve. Now, she started talking, and I thought, you're not going to be talking about this in front of my daughter, and I'm not going to be talking about things in front of my daughter. So I said to her, excuse me. I says, I want to speak to you in private. I says, because my daughter is listening to every single word. She says, oh yes, Mr. Wiseman, oh yes. She says, you know the meeting room that you were in before? I says, yeah. I says, she says, let's go there. I says, okay. So we goes into the meeting place, and there's 2 of them. There's 2 of them, right? They have to have 2 because they have to have a witness. Yeah, they daren't come in on their own because they have to have a witness. I can't go into too much detail here. How do I word this? I'm going to cut a long story short, because a lot of it I've already mentioned about the fleckernide and what they did to me in the hospital, how they give me something that would have killed me. And I said, you're going to hate me, I know you are. I said, because I tell you what, you all back each other up. Isn't that true? You back your colleague up, don't you? Just like the police. You say the police. I says, we cover each other's back. She says, oh. I says, right. I says, so I know what you do. I says, I know that you know as well. Yes. She says, okay. I says, you don't know me, and I'm gonna tell you what I'm doing. You Obviously, I'm asking for loads of information. I'm doing an audit. I said to her, I'm doing an audit on you and all these in here. And she looked at me with her eyes open. I says, yeah. I says, I'm doing an audit on you. And then she came over all sort of nice. The proper approach. I says, look, I says, I'm telling you now, I've come in here. Those two, dare I call them doctors? I did. I says, those two doctors, I'm coming in here to retrain those doctors because they need retraining. If they're treating other people who are coming in the way they've treated me, with a cold black heart, with no human feelings, whereby I can't even say sweetheart. I said sweetheart to her, and she said, don't you call me sweetheart. I said, I know what it was all about. She wanted me to call her doctor. I says, look, I will not call them doctors doctors. They haven't earned my respect to be a doctor. For me to call you a doctor, you have to earn my respect. I'm sure there's somebody listening behind here. I'm not paranoid. No, it's the bird. It's the bird up there. So our whole approach after that, because I said to her, I said, I'm going to tell you something about this hospital. I came in this hospital 15 stone, and I went out of the hospital, the fourth one, below 7 stone. I said, and yous caused that. Yous. I says, I allowed myself to go through that, to learn what was going on. There's only one way I can find out what's going on in these hospitals, is to get into that hospital. Otherwise I would never find out what is really going on. And I found out everything. I said, you pushed me from one hospital to the next, because I refused to let you take any more blood from me. I says, that blood was so precious. It was my life force. And I became anemic because you kept drawing blood from me. Until the point was that I thought, one more and I'm a goner. You will drain me to death. Bastards. So I refused. I said, no more. She says, you know, this is the process that we should go through. We shouldn't do this and that and the other. We have to assess the situation. We don't want to take the blood off people to make them more ill. I said, yes, that's right. Thank you. And then that led on to other things, and then that led on to other things. And I was doing an audit. And I said it near the end. I'm doing an audit on yous. I says,